In this video, I'm going to talk about where to find all of those things the VA is supposed to put in their rating decisions. Now, in a previous video, I talked about what those things are, and for the sake of a quick review, I'll walk through that list now. First is an identification of the issues adjudicated. Second is a summary of the evidence considered by the Secretary. Third, a summary of the applicable laws and regulations. Fourth, an identification of findings favorable to the claimant. Fifth, in the case of a denial, identification of elements not satisfied leading to the denial. Sixth, an explanation of how to obtain or access the evidence used in making the decision. Seventh, if applicable, an identification of the criteria that must be satisfied to grant service connection or the next higher level of compensation. And finally, your options for appeal or review if you don't like the decision. Now, in that video, I also mentioned that the VA is likely to include each of these in either the rating decision itself or a notice letter that they send with the decision. Now, with that little review out of the way, let's walk through the list of things the VA must include and talk about where to look for them. For the identification of the issues adjudicated, by the way, the word adjudicated here pretty much just means things decided. Anyway, you'll want to go to the rating decision and look under the heading titled Decision. Now, in this section, the VA will typically use a numbered list to state the claims that they've decided and whether each claim was granted, denied, and if it was granted, at what percentage you were rated. Now, for the summary of the evidence considered, again, look to the rating decision and look specifically under the heading titled Evidence. Now, pay very careful attention to the list in this section. Make sure that everything needed to prove your claim is listed in there. But understand that sometimes it may be hard to tell if everything is in fact there. So for example, the VA will sometimes write in here something like, all private medical records received on, say, May 8th of 2013. And you won't know from looking at that list what was included in those records received on May 8th of 2013. So in that instance, you'll have to get a copy of your claims file in order for you to know what was in there. I mean, you need a copy of your claims file anyway, but that's a separate discussion. So for a summary of the applicable laws and regulations, this you'll most often find in the section titled Reasons for Decision. Now, it's rare to see the VA reference a statute in here. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it. But you will see references to VA regulations, and usually these will be spread out by each claim or issue. Now, does the VA provide you a complete list of the applicable regulations? Well, I think they could be a little more complete in many instances, but they probably provide enough to meet their bare minimum obligation under the law. Also under this heading, you'll find favorable findings, if the VA makes favorable findings. And again, this will be broken down by each claim or issue. And you'll also find an identification of the elements not satisfied, which led to the denial, the criteria you need to satisfy to be granted service connection, and the criteria that you need to satisfy for the next higher level of rating. Now, not all of those will apply to every decision or even in every claim or issue, so they won't all be present every time in every decision. And particularly in the case of denials, when the VA denies, say, service connection, I think they do a pretty poor job of explaining what you were supposed to prove but didn't. Often, it's just a basic statement of the law, which I think, again, probably meets the bare minimum requirements for the VA, but it's a far cry from what I think is the intent of the law, which is to actually help veterans understand exactly where and why their claim failed. For the explanation of how to obtain or access the evidence used in making the decision, which is basically how to obtain your claims file, you'll have to leave the rating decision and turn to the notice letter. Now, somewhere in that letter, you'll find a phrase which says something like, if you would like to obtain or access the evidence used in making this decision, please contact us by telephone, email, or letter, as noted below, letting us know what you would like to obtain. All of that sounds okay, right? But if you actually pay attention to every phone number, email address, or address listed in the rest of the notice letter, you'll see that none of them have anything to do with you getting copies of the evidence. None of them. I think that VA utterly fails on this one. Again, what you need is a copy of your claims file, but it's a huge pain for a veteran to get a copy of their claims file. And it's something I really wish the VA would fix. One of many things I wish the VA would fix. Okay, now, the last thing is your appeal or review options. Now, the VA does a good job with this one. By that, I mean they just include the same standard forms at the end of every notice letter that talk about your appeal options. So not a lot for me to gripe about there. So I think that does it for how to find everything on that list. But before I wrap up the video, I need to point out that the VA is not required to put any one thing in a specific place. So if you don't find something where I just told you to look for it, before you get worked up about it, go back through everything the VA sent you and double check to make sure it's not hiding somewhere else. Now, I hope you found that video helpful. If you did, please give it a like. That'll help other veterans find it. And if you want me to help you with your VA claim, you can reach out to me through my website, walshvetlaw.com. Thanks for watching.